So yeah, welcome everybody. Good to see y'all. Um, I don't think that we've got anybody wanting to speak at public comment, it doesn't look like, so we can probably skip that. Um, Anybody want to make a motion to approve minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
All right. All right. All in favor of minutes?
Aye.
Cool, thank you. I'm gonna text Lizzie really quick. We can sort of skip that for now, I guess, while we're waiting on her. So Jarvis al fresco updates. So as many of you know, we were selected by the city in Chicago to move forward for the al fresco program. Which basically we're calling to keep the footprint of the current street closure on Jarvis the same and just have like nicer furnishings instead of just tailgate tents. So that's kind of the nutshell version of what we're working on. So we have, sort of our design team that's working on finalizing our site plan now that we know what our budget is, in order to determine what and how many of our proposed furnishings like that we're going to order or build. I just got an updated site plan drawing this morning, which I'll share around, but it looks like Lizzie is just joining us to start the discussion on social media and Chalk Howard plans. So welcome, Lizzie. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late.
Yeah, no worries. Do you want me to make you a host so you can screen share? That's probably the easiest.
Actually, if you guys are still talking for a minute, my laptop broke, so I need to get the file onto the computer that I'm Zooming on. So
all right.
Give me a second if you have anything else to.
Yeah, no worries. Let me pull up the updated alfresco drawings that I got this morning. They're in my inbox somewhere. So here's an updated version, which I'll make bigger. So basically, we know there's been like a lot of like hubbub, in the various, neighborhood groups online. This is the current footprint. Like it basically only closes the street between RPH and Charmers. So we are asking CDOT to investigate making the remainder of the street between, public storage and Ashland two-way so that vehicles can turn around more easily rather than routing them down the alley. That is the current traffic detour. But we're asking them to, pretty please make the street two-way west of the plaza area. But here's sort of is the drawing that's being refined for eventual permitting, because we still have to, even though our like concept plan was accepted and given funding, we do have to create, official stamp drawings and provide cut sheets of all the furniture that's being included for permits. So that's sort of the phase that we're at, getting ready to submit for permits. So in addition to like sort of the existing sidewalk cafe areas for each of the restaurants on the north side of the street, we are calling for replacement of some of the trees that were lost in the tornado and provision of additional seating that's just open to the public along the south side of the street that could benefit, potentially customers of the smaller takeout restaurants that don't have their own seating and don't have the bandwidth to do their own, sidewalk cafe and staff it and clean it. People can just get their takeout and sit in these sort of public seating areas, which we think, will really benefit them. We're providing additional like little ADA access ramps to let people get into like the street area, which will eventually have some public art. I don't know if we're keeping this mural for this initial phase. We may add it back later. But this will be an area for, some of the outdoor fitness programming that's happening, the artisan market that's been pretty successful, and then all the usual like events that go on in Jarvis Square in a normal summer. So the Oktoberfest and Jarvis Square Music and Arts Fest and Family Pride and all that stuff, and probably even expanding it, you know, now that we have more space to do it in. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff, but still very much a work in progress because we're now going through sort of the permit phase with CDOT. Any questions on this all?
Well, Cindy,
Yeah.
I saw some signs up on Jarvis that said that they're against closing that street. Did you know anything about that?
There is one guy who is nuts, who's trying to stir up opposition. So that's where that's coming from.
I saw it in the currency exchange.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
Charlotte, can I just add, we're yes, you know, Cindy said he's nuts, but we are taking it seriously. So he's with Elite on Jarvis, the people who own that building there. And their concern is that when people come to get their car repaired, when they leave, it's too difficult for them to go up the alley to go east. So that's the reason that we're looking to do the street from Ashland to Elite on Jarvis 2 ways. So then they can just make a right turn out. Right now it's one way going east. And if the street's blocked east, then they can't go east. And the only way, the place that they can go is up the alley. So if we make that street 2 ways, then they can just make a right turn out of the parking lot and everything will be great.
Well, you know, there's lots and lots of people hanging out on Jarvis now. I mean, it's like really like a big thing.
It's
And,
great.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And I would like to start thinking about how we can sort of partner with them so we can divert these people to like take a little side trip to Howard Street.
Yeah, maybe what we could do is, so what Cindy and I had talked about doing, and you know, is and Lizzie too, is during the outdoor dining, we're going to be promoting Chalk Fest. So while, you know, they're doing their thing and they're having their weekly artisan festivals and that kind of stuff. So if we can have posters or flyers and stuff for Chalk Fest at Jarvis Square, hopefully then they'll walk a couple blocks to Howard Street and see what's going on over there. So
Maybe we could think of some sort of a promotion, like even if you say come to Howard Street to win a free drink on us on Howard.
Sure.
And then maybe we could have like you know, like a grab bag or something to see who gets to have a free drink. It could be promoted at, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, you know, but like we could have 10 stores that are promoting getting a free drink on Jarvis if you come to Howard and pick out of the grab bag, something like that. That would be so cool, you know?
I think it would be too, yeah.
Hi, Gail.
That's a great idea.
Charlotte.
There's only, I'm sorry, I'm just getting in here late, but you can't promote a free drink. It's illegal according to the ILCC.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be a free drink, but it could be something on.
But
Well, I don't know.
Right, we just have to
Coffee at Soul Cafe or
Yeah.
something, right?
Mhm.
We could do
well, I
that.
mean, we just have to word it a different way.
yeah,
Well, I don't know. I think Lori is giving out free drinks from
Who?
the city of Chicago. Lori Lightfoot.
oh, for like
right, that's if you're
get your shot and
vaccinated.
stuff,
Your first
yeah.
drink is free, you know?
And it's only for, I think, what is it, a 1 month period that you can do it?
Yeah.
I got a thing on it. It's either a 1 month or 2 month period, but yeah, otherwise it's a $500 fine if you say free drink. But there's ways we can rephrase things.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool because we've got to get those people to walk down Howard. I mean, there's so many of them, you know, and they're
Right.
really having a great time over on Jarvis. I mean, honestly, they're just doing great over there.
Instead of being specific, you could be general and have it be like 10% off your bill at whatever the place is on Howard Street, if you wanted to avoid the free drinks.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
What Sandy was talking about with the advertising with the flyers and post and some kind of poster. To me, that's the most fundamental way to connect people with the two streets. If we can get some things that are up on Jarvis and on Howard that lead people to go to both, or and talk about the chalking and other things, it'll put the idea in their mind, whether they're on Jarvis, they may not have enough time to walk to Howard that day or something. So we want them to just, when they leave, just to connect the two things. And when they come back, maybe walk, view both streets. So something maybe that features the fact that they are that close, and, just like a big circle route or something like that, or something that connects the two and identifies the two together. And then getting those up in the stores on Howard and on Jarvis and in other places. That to me is the broadest way to do this.
With talking about like what we're doing on Howard, there's this guy named Kenny who is, he's the one that's promoting that drum circle that's over on Montrose. And I told him that we had access to that front part of the garden. And he's very interested in, getting something going on Howard since he's from Howard. And I said I would talk to you guys to see, like he wants to do like some sort of like drum circle or music idea. He's very energetic, and he's really all about, bringing some people together. He's not looking for payment. Do we have access to that front part of that garden at this point? I think we do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Maybe at the next meeting, I'll ask him to show up, and you guys can talk to him. But in the meantime, we have somebody that's really interested in pulling some people together for like some sort of event.
Good to know. Yeah, that's definitely, an interesting thing, that we could potentially investigate for later on this summer.
Mhm.
Sandy and I met yesterday actually with one of the gentlemen from Howard Area Community Center, because they had expressed an interest in potentially moving their food pantry distribution over there on a, sort of a temporary basis. They don't, after talking with them, I don't think they're going to pursue it, because they would need to move a truck in and out, and with the wood chips, it's not likely to be as feasible as I think they were originally thinking it was. But I think we're certainly open to the idea of doing something with that space. It's just not something that's been successful before. And the concerns, are definitely still there about, some of the crime and loitering on Howard, and especially Paulina, which they, shared with us as part of the reason that they're thinking of relocating the food distribution, because people have sort of been causing problems on Paulina, and that there's, new faces that have sort of emerged that are, maybe not as local, but that are still using that space as a hangout. And we still don't have a beat officer. They keep saying, the same story that we've been hearing for months now, where, we just got to find the right person. And they assured us that we'd have someone assigned by the spring, and here it is mid-June. So that's sort of where we are. There is a beat meeting tonight. I plan on getting on that call, just to sort of try and keep the pressure on with some of this. But they have been parking a car, but we've not been assigned a specific beat officer that I can walk around with and introduce to everybody yet. So
I actually saw 3 cars. I saw one parked on Howard and Paulina, one on that vacant lot by east of the garden, and another one that was on Howard and Ashland. And they've been pretty consistent.
that's good. That's good to hear. But yeah, we've been hearing from some of the folks on Paulina that they're, they see that there's been cars parked, but it hasn't been making like a whole lot of difference to some of the loitering and activity that's been going on up there. So it's something we're continuing to keep an eye on, because that's kind of all we can do is just, you know, and then go to beat meetings and DAC meeting and continue to, you know, put pressure on the 24th district, but it is what it is.
One of the ways that we could maybe make things better on Paulina is to really beautify it. Maybe we should really concentrate on getting the street resurfaced, getting some beautiful planters over there, getting it to look really good. You know, all of our efforts, you know, hasn't really panned out, you know, that well for Paulina Street. Maybe we should try stepping it up a bit.
Yeah, and I'd have to, you know, take a look at, you know, where we could reasonably put planters, but my understanding is that at one time there were planters that were removed because they were being used as stash spots.
All of Howard Street is used as a stash
Yeah.
spot, okay? I mean, a planter is just one little part of that. You know, I mean, they actually use my building as a stash spot in certain areas.
Yeah.
For years. I can't even believe it. Could we look into like resurfacing that street? Because I'm thinking to myself, you know, if people were standing up on the L platform and they look down and they see a ratty street like that, they're not likely to get off the train. But if they
You know, Charlotte, they're painting it right now for Juneteenth for
right.
they're
I know
painting
about
Black
that.
Lives Matter on the street. I don't think they'd be happy if we resurfaced it right now.
Oh, I'm not talking about right now, and you know damn well we couldn't ever get that thing resurfaced immediately.
Well, no, but they're painting.
I mean, it would be a 6 month at least down the road. But I mean, we have to know somebody that in you know, that department that could help us out with that, because I mean the street itself looks like crap.
Hopefully the painting will help.
Well, I'm talking about some real, like, we have weeds growing in the trees, okay? There's weeds. It looks like Tobacco Road, you know, over there.
Well, that we could have the Brightview go in and weed like in the sidewalk and stuff. Is that where the weeds
Yeah,
are?
like all over it. I don't even know if it got washed. Was that part of our
It was part of the scope for the power washing that we did. And if that's something that we want to do again later on in the summer, you know, the cost was not that much to do pretty much that whole side of the district. So,
you know, Sandy, if you could take a ride down there and look at it yourself and see what your opinion is about like trying to get some kind of a beautification thing going.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be real good. And I'll do the same thing, and maybe we can just, you know, think of something.
all right. Lizzie, are you ready to move us on to social media and Chalk Fest planning?
Yes. With
All right.
great
I
enthusiasm.
will stop screen sharing and let you put that up.
All right. Sorry about that. Tech issues, especially when we're all only tech all the time. Just kind of shake, yeah.
You know, bringing that up, now that Chicago has reopened, are we going to start having regular meetings again, or is this going to be like a Zoom thing forever?
They did put out some guidance on how to have hybrid meetings, which I refuse to do because they're always a disaster. So until they say that we have to meet in person again, I'd prefer to keep it online because it's also easier to get quorum, especially for folks that have to get to other places like immediately after, who are coming in during the workday.
When are you going to reopen your office?
So after the 4th, we're going to go back a couple days a week. Is the plan?
I also like to just speak for the factory because I know the SSA was meeting at the factory space for these meetings. We are very happy to hold these meetings again whenever this group is ready to meet in person.
Great, thank you.
We could do a combination though, Cindy, right?
You could, in that it's allowed, but it never works well. I've been to a few, and it's really difficult to have half the people on Zoom and half the people in the room. It's unworkable.
Yeah, I think it's just, as Charlotte was saying, I think the dynamic is a little different in
Mhm.
person than Zoom. And maybe more, maybe more things can sort of get settled or come to a conclusion than happens in the Zoom discussions.
Well, should I dive in?
Yeah, Lizzie, if are you ready to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, and actually speaking of kind of bridging the gap between in-person and virtual, I'm gonna, we have the normal report, but I want us to all talk about Chalk Howard Street and make sure we all know the plan and what to expect for Chalk Howard Street this year. So we are still in logistics scheduling phases. We are approved to do the event. Nate Baranowski, our key lead artist from last year who created 3D tabletop art virtually, is going to join us again and create 3D tabletop art again. He was also our featured 3D artist in the big street festival in person in 2019. So it's great to have his consistency. He's a Chicagoan from Hyde Park, and a great artist and really great to work with and really supportive of what we're doing. So he's in. We also are working with 8 businesses. So last year we did 10, I think, total. This year we're going to do 8, and each business will get a featured custom 3D piece of artwork. So the 3D art, just like Salerno's last year, or Badu, or Good to Go, it's like a 24 by 36 inch tabletop piece of artwork that lays flat, and you stand at a certain point, and when you look at it, it looks like it's coming off the page. And it looks really good when you use your phone or like a screen to point it at the art. You can see it as 3D in your phone, which even better than like the magic eye kind of experience. So Nate is going to create the art. These are the 8 businesses. Right now we have, I think, 4 or 5 completely committed, and I'm doing some follow-up calls. Thank you to Factory Theater for being one of them. Phil, I think I owe you a reply, but I'm really glad that you're in. And what we're going to do is choose what the subject of the art will be. So like Salerno's had a pizza, and then work with Nate to start the art. On a given day in the summer, the art will be installed at the business, and a professional video that we're working with a Factory Theater talent to create will be released. So we'll build up to that date for that business, promote that it's happening. Once the video is released that features the business, showcases the art, we say, come see the art in person at this business this weekend. And maybe there's some specials that the business can offer, or something like that. So Factory Theaters is going to be near the end, so we can say, opening soon, and announce whatever you have to announce about your lineup or the first show. Howard Street Brewing will also be near the end. You could say, opening whatever date. So it's a little bit more in person than last year, because one of the goals we're adding from last year is really driving traffic to Howard Street and getting people to go into the businesses and make purchases, which we weren't quite in a safe spot to do last year. But it's still not going to be 5,000 people on the street like it was in 2019. So in this conversation about bridging that kind of hybrid, it's a little bit of both. We will use Instagram Live, but it won't be the 30-minute dialogue with Nate and the business owner. We're pre-recording that with these professional videos. So just like Howard Street has this library of gorgeous professional photos of dozens of businesses, now we're going to add video content to that library. And we can use that footage to cut it so many different ways for this project, but then we'll have it. So it could be on web, it could be more social, just great footage of Howard Street. So part of the videographer's task is to also get lots of B-roll of the street and help show Howard Street as a place where you can be you and all are welcome. So it's a lot of like a verbal update. We are finalizing the businesses by tomorrow. I've got Nate's dates, which Cindy said I need to kind of go through the schedule because we need Nate's dates and we need videographer Kyle's dates, and then kind of make it all fit together without rushing the art making process or the video editing process and still promoting in the summer. So that's kind of the phase of planning that we're in. And then it'll be on web, social, flyers, all of that, and toolkits that the businesses can, that will give the businesses to help promote. And a version for the participating businesses and a version for non-participating businesses, so that everyone on Howard Street, you know, Athena had a great feature last year. She would, I'm sure, promote this year's too.
Yeah. Have you been in touch with Chuck yet about Howard Street Brewing? Because the last conversation I had with him, it sounded like he was not expecting that he was going to be ready.
Yeah, at this point, I've like a lot of effort,
Yeah.
calls, texts, emails. And so, yeah, I don't have a good answer on that yet.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping today, tomorrow that we connect.
Yeah. Because if it's not gonna work for him, like, you know, that's maybe an opportunity to sub in somebody else. You know, maybe we have another Jarvis business or something.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So, yeah, as much as I would really love to include Howard Street Brewing if that's feasible to do, but I'm just not sure that it's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this list of businesses is a great mix of like east of the street, west side of the street, a little Evanston, as kind of a nod. We have Jarvis, and then food and non-food, which it's really like paced out well, I think. So, and new businesses and longtime businesses. Okay. Any questions about Chalk Howard Street this year?
Well, I was thinking, like, I know at one point you said that you were going to have Nate do it in front of the businesses, and it was going to be, you know, like he was actually going to do the artwork at the business.
So he's going to finish the artwork at the business. So logistically, he's going to start it in studio, finish at the business, which is kind of what we did last year. He came with it pretty much done. And then the videographer will be there. So the videographer will capture Nate finishing the art. The videographer will capture the business owner talking about their business. We'll get B-roll footage of the business. We can have customers or testimonials, products, services featured. So there's sort of that like storyboard mapped out. The question that we kind of left open was, how much do we promote residents coming to see Nate at the business?
Yeah, that's what I thought you were thinking of doing.
Yeah, we are thinking of doing it. It's not off the table. I think it's sort of a question of safety, especially every business is a different size, everyone has different hours, and then a question of logistics. I mean, getting Nate, the videographer, us, the business all coordinated is going to be, for 8 businesses, is going to be one thing. And then, you know, how much of that, let's say like we're spending 2 hours at each business at 8 businesses, that's 16 hours of our time. How much of that should also be an event, and how much of that should just be really good video content? So I think that's still a little bit to be decided. And maybe it's different for different businesses. You know, I could see a Good to Go promoting the rooftop. That could make sense. The recyclery, like maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, we'll see, like, you know, like say, for instance, Good to Go promoting their rooftop, you know, maybe Nate could be doing the art on the rooftop. And, you know, maybe people would like to come and watch him do the art.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my question is, how are you going to promote like this event if, you know, like people are out doing things now? I mean, people aren't trapped into their computer anymore. And I'm wondering what is your idea of how this is going to promote Howard Street? I mean, if it's just going to be a video.
So it's art in the business. So the big push will be, as you're out doing things, like making sure there's lots of attention and awareness about Howard Street. And we're doing that by having all this really neat art all throughout the street. We're doing that through social media. We're doing that through flyers, posters, web. I know Silverman Group has already started with PR. So there's lots of like buzz about what's happening on Howard Street. You can come to a restaurant or the bakery and get one thing and see the art, or you can go see them all and make that the experience. And the video content is just one more layer in promoting visiting Howard Street. So unlike last year where the event itself was an Instagram live video, this is more go to Howard Street, a little bit less of an event and more go to Howard Street, shop on Howard Street, eat on Howard Street, and a lot of assets that help us point people there.
And that are useful, like not just during the summer, but throughout the year, because building up, you know, sort of the a bank of video content, you know, we can deploy that, you know, at any time, like beyond this. So it can be used to promote, you know, people making Howard a destination during the summer to see the art and experience the businesses, but then also we have some digital assets that we can use to promote throughout the year and, you know, repurpose, recycle, remix. So it sort of creates, you know, what could be, you know, a more spread out impact, I think, too.
Yeah, I think last year, well, with the Street Festival, it was like Saturday, July 20th, 2019, from 11 to, I can't remember because of the rain, come to Howard Street for this event. And then last year it was like every Friday at 11 a.m., watch on Instagram Live for this event. And we realized that by pushing people to watch on their phone, we weren't pushing people to get to the street. So the idea is to really push people to get to the street. And as Cindy said, like promote it through the videos and use the videos as a tactic to get people to the street.
The key thing that I think you were talking about to tie this together are the materials you were talking about. Could you send to the SSA a list, you know, a listing of the items you described, like posters, flyers, and so on, and a timeline of when those might be ready so that the commissioners could see them? And, you know, if they have any comments, for, you know, incorporate them if possible, and just have everybody have some sense of enough time to schedule this, because I think particularly again this year, more of a Jarvis Howard connection. That's going to be the key to capturing some of the people on Jarvis, but also having the businesses themselves. Like, are the businesses going to each have a poster in the window?
Yes.
That says, come in and see this, and lists the other businesses or gives the website. So you're describing, you know, very generally some materials and all. If we could get some specifics, I think that would help people go, you know, not have to be so abstract in thinking about this, because it is going to be a challenge without a doubt, that this summer, when at least if the last couple of weeks are any indication, people are really just going to want to be out somewhere to maximize the usefulness of this, because it was planned before the idea that people would come back out was around. So it was planned as something to you know, address the fact that they weren't around, but now everybody wants to be out. So I think how we tie this in, how we let people know about it, that's going to be the key. So can you get us something like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when would that,
what was that?
when can you do that in the next week or two?
Yeah, so as I said, the schedule has businesses deciding by tomorrow. So right now the push is to get commitments from the businesses. And then we're contracting with Nate and with a videographer and getting those dates set. So out of that, then we'll create the event schedule, and that's content needed on the flyer, poster, social. So I have the project schedule, and Cindy, I just wanted to, there are a couple of the loose ends I'm talking about now that I want to wrap up before I get it to Cindy and Sandy. And then yes, you'll have the schedule, and I'd love your help distributing all the promotional materials.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is that we're sort of, you know, kicking this off in mid-July, actually, right, you know, sort of after the Clark Street Taco Crawl. And I think Anna's been in contact with Nate about having Nate come do something on the street at the Taco Crawl to promote this. So we have sort of that lead in, which is really exciting too.
That's a good idea.
Mhm.
And we should be able to get some more publicity for that then too, if that's to tie in with.
That's certainly the hope, because Silverman's been working on promotions for both, really. And just the way that we were able to sort of schedule it, I think is going to be neat, because it's like, yes, people are out, but when you go out and you're sitting on a patio, an awful lot of people are still on their phones. So
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. And I would just like to get some idea of the design, or what the concept is for instance, tying the Howard Jarvis into terms of these materials. These are really going to be the first things that we're trying with.
yeah.
Like that. So I think we need time. Everybody should be able to offer suggestions, or, you know, get them to be as strong as we can make them.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, should I can kind of flip through the rest.
Yeah.
Till 10.
Cindy,
Yep.
could I ask if is for the taco walk, would a simple flyer, even at that point, if we have the dates or the names, or at least the first event, something that people who go on the taco walk, you know, could pick up?
Yeah, we had talked about that. Yeah, exactly. That's a great idea. Okay, so in the event section of the report, I put in this flyer so we all know this is happening this Saturday. A Just Harvest is putting on a Juneteenth celebration. I think you all have seen these new street banner designs.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just gonna kind of fly through. So Instagram, we're at 824 followers. These are 3 of the top posts. Athena Board Game Cafe was featured in the inaugural episode of the Board Game Times podcast. So we posted about that, and that got great attention. And it's a great episode too, that really talks about her and her motivation to open the business and choose Howard Street. And then we announced Chalk Festival with some of last year's and 2016's images. On Facebook, we're at 5,700 followers and 5,600 likes. You can see the accounts reached and new page likes every day. Salerno's, the announcement about Chalk Howard Street. These are some of the top Facebook posts. We promoted the window painting event that was, I think it was Memorial Day weekend or right around then.
Yeah.
With Gale
3D
students.
Makery, yeah. Gale students did it.
And there's the Athena podcast again. So it's nice. There are more events to promote. As we're talking about here, it had been a lot of like content of business owners and sort of what everyone was doing. And it's really refreshing to have, you know, come to this event or support this initiative. These are 5 ads that we're running for a likes campaign that has reached 17,000 people and 3,000 post engagements. You can kind of see the start and end dates in May. SEO, so our web traffic is starting to climb. It's really consistent that it dips in the winter, and then as the weather gets better, we see more people coming to the website. And we have created some new ads in our Google Ads account. Kind of the theme I'm saying here is like, as things are reopening and people are looking for like things to do or vacations or tourism, all of the keywords that we really like to use and really do well for us are starting to be what people are searching for. So we are getting more and more clicks on our Google Ads. you can see it's been really consistent in the 200s, and this past month it jumped to 560 clicks and 30,000 impressions for our ads. So we did some new campaigns and some new ads to help drive that and take advantage of this changing times. And that is what I have for you. So yeah, we're I think Chalk Howard Street is the big push right now. Of course, everything gets consistent attention, but once we get logistics and schedule in the next couple of days figured out, we'll come back to you with, materials and dates and everything that you need to know to help be part of the event.
Great. Yeah, and we'll stay in touch. If there's anyone on the list of featured businesses that drops or can't do it, beyond Howard Street Brewing, which we know is a maybe. We can consult together, pull out the list of from our previous discussion and plug in some other folks. I think we've got some ideas. So we'll definitely have the 8 as previously agreed upon. And I think we're all really excited to get it rolling, get started.
Yeah, us too.
All right. So we talked through a little bit. I presented the most recent drawings for the Jarvis Alfresco project. And I know that we had, sort of started the conversation, a little bit at the previous meeting about, incorporating Jarvis into the brand or creating a separate brand for Jarvis. I know Renee is here, and wanted to sort of open up some further discussion on that, as just sort of a discussion item. So yeah, we'll, kind of throw it out there, like, how are people feeling about, what branding looks like now that we're incorporating Jarvis?
Renee, did you have
more
any,
on that? Like, what are the options or something like that? I'm not. We talked about how to link the two things all the time, and I think that's important. But are there any specifics? Is it a matter of, like, name/name, or is it we're looking for some sort of art, graphic design that ties the two together, or what's the next step? What would we look for in the next step?
So you guys aren't all keen on Howarvis? Whatever the decision is for that, Cindy, I definitely think that on the signage for the alfresco on Jarvis, we should put something to say part of, whatever that name is or whatever, SSA.
Yeah.
So that, people will know that Jarvis is also part of Howard, because like you were saying earlier, Charlotte, we should all benefit from this.
do you think we should change the name of the SSA to Howard Jarvis?
I kind of think we should.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the same thing.
It
Because we
wouldn't
might
be
be
bad
Howard
either.
Street anymore.
I wonder if there's some way to have the graphic kind of show Howard, like use Howard, the L, and Jarvis. Do you know what I'm saying? To just show how they're linked?
Mm-hmm.
Or if I don't know, some kind of tagline added saying Howard Jarvis, just a train trip between or something, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing out ideas.
And I thought we had talked about having a kind of dedicated session for this. Did we not? Sort of revisit the strategic plan and then kind of consider the, not rebranding necessarily, but because this just feels like a really big decision to just kind of throw out in a meeting. Because we have to be really thoughtful about this.
No,
And what we did, as we were, doing draft budget, We did put in some additional allowances for strategic planning as its own sort of thing, but because the alfresco project is, God willing, going to be happening this summer, it does behoove us to sort out some of this branding discussion, because, you know, if we want there to be consistency in terms of like design and colors, like those are things that we, you know, probably should get a handle on now before, you know, we start ordering additional street furnishing and stuff like that. You know, there is going to probably be some signage that's going to be installed as part of this. So, you know, we, I think, are all in agreement about wanting it to be consistent, but consistent where, like, how, you know, how are we reflecting, how are we bringing consistency to it, right? If that makes sense.
Renee, have you talked to the other store owners over on Jarvis to get their ideas of what they would like?
I have not, but I can.
Yeah, maybe they have some good input that, you know.
One of the things about the Jarvis area that I think is kind of fundamentally attractive is they use the name Square, Jarvis Square. So maybe that's something we should consider when we're talking about, you know, the identification is like Harwood Street / Jarvis Square. If that's, you know, if the Jarvis folks are going to keep using the Jarvis Square, but I think that's sort of a unique identity amongst in the city, because it's not just a street and so on and so forth.
And especially now that we're making it an actual square now.
Yeah, and it has a friendly feeling. And you're right, and it even might give, you know, the idea, like somebody was just saying, for a graphic, for a way to start the graphic design. But I think it's not just two streets then, it's kind of, here's two unique places that have a link between them.
I mean, I guess I wonder, Lizzie, maybe do you have thoughts off the top of your head of like ways from like a branding perspective where you can sort of link, like, are there strategies where you can link things without changing them? And because I guess I'm also wondering, like, are we just like, how wide of a net are we casting right now? Are we saying the whole brand? Are we saying just the logo? Are we saying just the SSA title? Like, I guess I feel really unfocused as to how to even begin talking about this, because it's really huge.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like, if there are like ways that we could maybe try to come at this, or perspectives just to help us be more honed in on, like, we'll change this one thing and do that, and here's a strategy for like adjuncting two things together. Because I know we don't want to upset the brand that we've already have and that we've spent a lot of time building. And, you know, we talked about that collateral at the last meeting, and I think you're completely correct. We don't want to throw out all that value that we've already accumulated. But so how do we keep that and marry something new into it without diluting it? Or is it even possible? I don't know.
Yeah, anything's possible. We typically start with thinking about, like, what would success look like? Like, what are our goals here? I think a goal is marketing the area as one place. It's not, people can go to both right after, you know, one after the other. Another goal is not losing the momentum we've already built, or what people already think of Jarvis Square, and the word, you know, that's a great point. Square is really appealing. So thinking through goals and what we're trying to achieve, and then who we're talking to. Is this people who know both areas already because they live right here? And we're trying to show that now they're related somehow. You know, what are we trying to achieve, and who are we talking to about it? And then we will run some sort of engagement process. So to the question about, have you talked to Jarvis Street business owners? It's good to get the input of the community so that whatever we end up doing resonates with who's using it. And sometimes that's one meeting with, you know, like this, or sometimes that's a couple one-on-one phone calls, and sometimes that's 100 focus groups, or some, you know, focus groups with hundreds of people. So it can really like run the gamut. I think everybody here wants to keep it more simple, it seems, or I've gotten that feeling from past conversations, and that's fine. It's just picking the right people, and the people we want to make sure they're bought in and have the opinions, and kind of facilitating and asking the right questions. And then there are different ways to make the brands related, and that could be color, it could be type, it could be style, it could be a tagline. And usually we as a team like go through all of them and really think through what makes sense given those other conversations. Sometimes in those conversations, it's good to ask a question like, could we change the name? Like, what would you, there was a golf club we rebranded that was called Sportsman's Country Club. And it's not skeet shooting. It's not just for men, and they're not a private country club, but they had this name for so long. We had to ask the question, like, are you okay with the name changing? And since they weren't talking to the people who worked there, they could be really honest with us. And there was one person who was not okay, but by and large, everybody else was like, I don't feel welcome there. It doesn't say what it is. You know, I don't like it. It's not representative of our community. And so we went through a naming process and landed on a name that everybody really has embraced, Heritage Oaks Golf Club.
Well, one thing that we should really keep in mind is that Howard Street is definitely a completely different feel than Jarvis.
Right.
Okay. And it can't be the same because it's just not the same. But
Right.
it's both unique experiences and both good. So, you know, it's, you know.
And
There
maybe
might be something to that train idea, because that is literally how we even got this to be joined. So maybe that's the only nugget that kind of sticks out to me, is like the train or the train tracks, or maybe that can be the thing that literally ties us together somehow.
And I think the other side of what Charlotte just said, though, is that they are two different places and two different experiences, but people in the neighborhood meld them together. They don't meld them literally in terms of physical description necessarily, but they think of them as two definite potential destinations or areas.
Mhm.
And you know, we want to keep that connection too, because I think that strengthens both of them and strengthens the neighborhood, and it makes it easier for people to associate with them. Plus, as somebody mentioned, I think at the last meeting, we've got, you know, Howard Street stretches all the way, you know, certainly past Damon on the Chicago side. So it's the idea of somehow building that in too. That's part of the difference in the identity, but still in the same place. It's still two places that you can easily, you know, connect in your mind and connect physically if you're walking around or driving.
So what if we connect them with a red line, since the red line, you know, show the two different logos and connect them with a line and promote it that way?
You know, that's certainly one way of doing it. Or use the color red somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to make people think, I mean, the far north side stops, as everybody knows, were built very close together because of the history of this compared to the stops farther south. Mm-hmm. So it's not, we don't want to make people who don't know that think like, gee, that's a big distance. That's like the distance between Belmont and Fullerton or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We need to get around that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Howard Street is.
Wellington, those are like 3 blocks. Yeah. Right.
You know, Howard Street, like years ago when we started working on, you know, like some sort of a face for Howard Street, you know, we had a promotion that said, you know, take a walk on the wild side, come to Howard Street, you know, and people took it as, yeah, let's go on an adventure. So, I mean, you know, like Howard Street is sort of an adventure to go through. And then you have the other side, Jarvis, which is like really, you know, much more upscale, I think, you know. I mean, that's what they promote, you know. It's like, it's just a cooler feel. You know what I mean? More, you know, I don't want to say sophisticated, but, you know, how Jarvis is like a pretty cool place to hang out, I think.
Well, I like what everyone's saying about, like, if you're visiting Chicago, you might not go to like one street or one square and think you could make like a morning of it or an afternoon of it. but like you could go to Howard Jarvis and like really explore and spend a lot of time. Like there's a lot to do there. So I think there's something
You
to
know,
be said for putting them together as like one experience with a lot of different, you know, feelings, like a lot of different
different aspects. What we need now is something for these summer events, and to maximize the usefulness of everything we're planning and doing for people who don't, particularly people who are coming to one place or the other for the first time, or looking at a video or something like that. So that's why I was asking earlier about, getting some materials out and ready to look at right away, and also so they can be distributed. We can all help, in widening that. And if we decide to use any of them for an advertisement somewhere, that we pay whatever we do with this. But it's not, so there's two things going on. We need that material, because otherwise we lose a lot of potential that we could capture during the summer. And then there's these longer term things, which might be more, abstract issues or bigger things that people want to talk about. But I think we need to get something for the summer, knowing that it's not necessarily what's going to be around for the next 25 years. And it'll change, it may change. So that's not necessarily something we have to do this minute, let's figure it out.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, I mean, for this summer, we do have to have some sort of plan for how it's going to be communicated for the Chalk Fest stuff, and with Alfresco, I think are like the two like most immediate projects that need something.
And any other opportunity we have, just like you were saying, Cindy, anything on Clark Street. Clark Street is going to have an in-person festival, right?
It's not a festival. We're not closing the street. It is a ticketed. So it's the taco crawl. So you buy your ticket, and then you get a taco at each of the 17 or 18 places. Like, so you go around to the different ones. But yeah.
Anything that comes up, any opportunity, we want to be ready for.
Before we get off the subject of the neighborhoods, I just want to say, I get a lot of out of towners in. It's like kind of like we've become like kind of a tourist stop. And a lot of people say to me, they say, this Howard Street, this is exactly what I pictured a real Chicago neighborhood to feel like. And, I go like, what do you mean? And they go, oh, well, Belmont and Fullerton, they're all gentrified. And Howard Street has got a real Chicago neighborhood feel. So, maybe we could pick up on something like that. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Cool. All right. It's 10 o'clock, which is like usually about when we wrap. I mean, there's not really anything to vote on at this point. A lot of this was just sort of, discussion and informational updates. So if folks need to take off to get to other stuff, we can adjourn.
Because I have to.
No other questions or anything, yeah.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to pop up over the weekend and get some pictures during the Just Harvest event on Saturday, and we'll be in touch about that and Chalk Fest plans. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming out this morning. Next meeting is July 21st, and we'll be doing probably some more budget stuff. And probably start talking Halloween.
If Lizzie, when Lizzie has her things ready, can you?
I'll forward them around, yeah. Okay. Because I mean, we'll be needing to get out flyers to businesses, sooner than that meeting anyway, because like we're scheduled to start, around the 15th with rolling stuff out. So like we'll definitely be getting stuff out to commissioners and to SSA businesses prior to that 7/21 meeting, because we're going to need to.
Yeah, and Sandy and Sydney, is there some way, if can you mention the kind of joint thing and these other things at that event on the 24th? even though that's a Zoom event?
The Best of Rogers Park event.
Right.
What are you asking about it, Dave? I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Just, to talk about some of the things that are coming up and that we talked about today in the area.
I mean, we'll do it very briefly at that event.
Yeah, right. Just to mention them, but you've got an audience there, so.
Right.
Yeah, also worth noting too, we also got the 626 day coming up, June 26th. So we'll be doing like some promotions and raffles around that. The idea being, spend, $26 at an independent business anywhere in Rogers Park, and you can enter to win some raffle prizes and things like that. Some of the businesses will be doing, 626 day themed specials. So that's also going to be something that we're going to be promoting over the next 2 weeks or so. So.
Okay, yeah, no, that would be, that's the other good one.
Yeah. All right.
Well, good luck with this.
Yes.
Yeah. Somebody want to
Thanks,
move to
Lisa.
adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Thanks, Gail.
I'll second, so I gotta go.
Yeah.
me
Bye, everyone. Nice seeing you
too.
all.
Bye. Yeah, nice to
Thank
see all
you.
of you.
Good to see
Maybe
everybody.
next time in person.
Yeah, we'll see.
Bye.